To order the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District for December 11th, 2019. May I please get members present?
Shaquille Ali is not present. Marie Brizuela.
Here.
Maybell Monio.
Here.
Manufo Leainga Anawai.
Here.
Clayton Koo.
Here. Next, the Pledge of Allegiance led by students from Margaret P. Brown Elementary School.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is item 4, governance team meeting guidelines. Governance team members will review the governance team meeting guidelines. Next is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
A first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Next is 6A, special presentations. MP Brown, Room 6, 4th grade, and the Youth Cinema Project. The writers and producer of Room 6 are presenting the 4 chosen pitches for their films which are currently in production. These pitches were selected by classmates for production. The premiere of these films will be in early June 2020 at the Daly City Century 20 Theater. Good evening.
Good evening. I am Beth Goff, the principal at MP Brown, and it is my honor to share with you this evening the winning pitches from our work with the Youth Cinema Project. This is our 3rd year in production. Over the summer at the Latino Film Institute in Los Angeles, 3 of our 4 films were shown at the Film Institute. We've had a very positive and collaborative time, and we hope we can continue. We'd love to also see these productions continue on into middle school, and also there is a 3rd grade curriculum which the Youth Cinema Project has created that we would love to be able to start the writing process with our 3rd graders in terms of characters and feelings and emotions. And so with no further ado, I have Cynthia.
Hello, my name is Cynthia, and my story is about Keela. She is a girl who loves to read books in a public library, whose world is turned upside down when her father leaves to teach the chef in the children's hospital, and leaves his phone so he misses his flight. And Keela's family decides to call him, but he doesn't respond because his phone is on silent. A helpful family helps him get back, and he was able to come back safely. Keela learns that she shouldn't get her hopes up because she will daydream instead of seeing the reality, and that could cause a lot of harm.
Hi, my name is Manar Shaibi, and I am the producer of our production group. The director and writer isn't here, so I'm going to be presenting our story. The recipe. It's a story about Sean, a restaurant owner that made a recipe that people like, whose world is turned upside down when Sean realizes that someone else has better soup than his, and decides to visit the restaurant that has the best soup. He thought of stealing the recipe but decided not to, as advised by his best friend, and learns that you can learn a lot from someone when you collaborate with them.
Hello. Hello, my name is Lee Chi Hong. I am the director and writer of the film Samantha. It's a story about Samantha that is getting bullied by another girl, Daisy, and she likes to ignore people, whose world is turned upside down when she feels like Daisy has gone too far when Daisy plays a prank on her in class.
and decides to confront her and tell her to stop bullying her. But Daisy tells her that she was trying to be her friend, but she kept ignoring her, and learns that she shouldn't ignore people anymore because it might hurt other people's feelings, because if she ignored people, people will ignore her and no one will want to be her friend.
One more.
Hello, my name is Diego Cava. I am the writer of Plagiarism. It's a story about a boy named Jacob who always copies another boy named Jeffrey, whose world turns upside down when they have to do an essay for college. Jacob decides to copy Jeffrey's essay, which ends up into doing high school again because plagiarism is illegal. He learns that you should never copy anyone because because it's not good.
We are premiering hopefully the first Tuesday in June. Ms. Coeli has worked diligently with the staff from YCP. We are changed our production days. They are Mondays and Thursdays from 10:30 to 12:30, 12:15, and you are welcome at any time to come and see their productions.
Cool, thank you. Any comments from board members?
Well, I just want to thank the students for coming and speaking to us today. You all did a wonderful job. And our last speaker, I praise you for being able to get up and speak without your notes. You did a great job. We're very proud of all of you. And we will be coming to see your program when it's available. And I want to say keep up the good work, and you're doing terrific. Thank you.
I also wanted to share the same sentiment as Trustee Bruzuela. I think you guys are doing something super amazing, and I hope that you feel proud of yourself because we definitely are, and as I'm sure your family and teachers are absolutely proud of you too. So definitely keep up the good work, and I can't wait to see the premiere in June. Thank you guys for coming.
I, too, am extremely proud of all the work that's happening. I had shared with Principal Goff that I had received an email from the executive director of Youth Cinema, who also conveyed wishes from Mr. Edward James Olmos, saying that JESD was their absolute favorite school that they work with. So I think that's a testament of the work that each of you do, and we just want to applaud each of you again. Look forward to seeing you all on the big screen here and throughout. So congratulations and happy holidays to all of you, and keep up the great work. And thank you again to the staff that make sure that this program continues to be anchored there at MP Brown and also is very successful. So we're very, very, very excited to see the premiere next year.
I just want to echo everybody else, just say thanks to all the students for presenting your pitches. I know every year that we're pretty excited to see the final product of your movies, so we're excited to see what that has in store. And I just want to also extend my thanks to teachers and staff and the principal for making this program great. Some of us were at the CSBA conference this year, and we went to a session on the Youth Cinema project, actually, and we just heard about the amazing stuff that the project was able to do for our students, and just want to echo and just say that we're so excited for what has in store, and just want to wish you guys all the best on the rest of the school year and on making the movie as well, too. So before you guys head out, we have some certificates to just extend our thanks. So I will pass them along to...
Sorry. You want to? Yeah. What?
behalf of the Jefferson Elementary School District, this is a certificate of appreciation, not just for the flag ceremony, but also for presenting to us about the Youth Cinema Project. And is it Leechy? Lychee, I'm sorry, Lychee Huang, right? No? You're gonna have to teach me, because I've got a name too. Lychee Huang?
Julie sent me one.
Good evening, everyone. Certificate of Appreciation for Manar Al-Shayi.
And I have a certificate of participation in the flag ceremony and the special presentation. Diego?
There you go.
They don't want to see me.
Thank you.
Okay, this is yours. Can I shake your hand? You did a great job.
And also, on behalf of Jefferson Elementary School District, this is a certificate of appreciation for participation in the flag ceremony and the superb job you did presenting to us today for Cynthia Alonso Pop.
Thank you again so much, and please join me in giving them another round of applause as well, too.
I just want to say thank you, that I really needed this. Thank you, Principal Golf. I appreciate this. Attention, only positive attitudes allowed in this area, so I love this. Thank
Where'd
you.
get that from? Well, I have a picture with Mr. Olmos and myself at the conference. And he told me, like what you just said, that our district was the best they ever had, and that he will always want to do something for us. So he's looking forward to us doing it again and going back with our students. And not everybody understands what the whole program is, but it really is so good, you know, because you're there at the school. But it helps the students learn to work together as a team, to respect each other, and everyone has a job to do. And when you walk in and see it in action, it's amazing, you guys. It's amazing. And for that, they learn much more than just learning how to make a little movie. But it's about really, you know, their heart is into it. And when I walk into the classrooms and I'm watching them getting ready, they are so respectful. And they really care about what they're doing. And that's really what it's all about. It's about learning beyond just saying, I made a movie. So everybody just remember to thank them. We thank our teacher, who is there all the time, our principal, and everybody that said yes. Now, we're going to continue doing this, I hope, and I heard comments about having it in other grades. Yes, we should. And we need to find the money and go out and look for a grant. If there's no money here, let's look for a grant, because we need to not stop this program. It needs to start, like you said, at third grade, and needs to continue into junior high. We missed out on doing that. We could have had last year's kids go into the junior high this year. It didn't happen, but let's make it happen. So by the time they're in middle school, they're really doing a longer program, and they're learning a lot more. And the kids at junior high need it just as much as the kids in elementary. I said my piece. Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, thanks again. Next is item 7A, consent agenda. The administration recommends approval of the starred items on the rest of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Next is item 8A, under Governing Board Annual Reorganization, election of officers and representatives. The board each year is required under Election Codes 35022 and 35143 to elect a president and clerk. Board Bylaw 9100 also specifies that a vice president shall be elected. The board shall also elect a representative, and alternate for the County Committee on School District Organization Education Code 35023. So I will first open nominations for president.
I would
And I would
like,
like-
excuse me?
Sorry.
I said I first. I would like to nominate Shaquille Lee.
There's a first. Is there a second? There's a first and a second. May I please get a roll call?
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Ms. Manio,
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai, and Mr. Koo.
Aye. That was unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
Right now?
I'll switch over, yeah.
You're now president. Oh, sorry. Take the water, the name. I have to adjust the seat over there. I don't know. All right.
Good evening.
Yay. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, because we're still moving forward with this same. So where am I? Okay. Well, okay, good evening, everyone. So we'll continue with the election of officers and representatives. Now we'll open up nominations for the seat of vice president. Do we have any nominations?
I would like to make a motion to nominate Ms. Mabel Manio for vice president.
Second.
Third? Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Koo,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Ms. Manio,
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
Aye. Congratulations. And next, we will have nominations for representative and oh yeah, sorry. It's on there. So we'll have nominations for clerk.
I will make a motion to nominate Ms. Marie Brizuela for clerk.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Koo,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Ms. Manio,
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
Aye. Congratulations. Next, we will have nominations for representative for the County Committee on School District Organization.
Yeah, this is a one meeting a year. Usually, this year it was the Monday right before Thanksgiving, so it's usually in that end of November period. And we elect a alternate in case calendars get booked and the representative can't go, we have an alternate.
I nominate Trustee Koo.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Koo,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Ms. Manio, Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
and Mr. Ali.
Aye. Congratulations. And we will also take nominations for an alternate for the County Committee on School District Organization, or alternate representative.
I'll make a motion to nominate Ms. Leah Inga Anawai as the alternate for the County Committee on School District Organization.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Koo,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Ms. Manio, Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
Aye. Congratulations. And that will conclude our elections for officers and representatives. And are we taking a 5-minute recess or no recess? Okay.
There's no cake, so
Oh, it's
it's only
raining.
when we get elected to office.
All right.
You know.
I saw a coffee.
I do want to take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Koo and his service to us and to our district and to the board. We have a gift and another 2 gifts for him. So.
Those are beautiful.
Wow.
Cool, thank you.
So before you open, so yeah, it's been a pleasure, Superintendent, to work alongside Mr. Koo and plan with him and prepare for the agendas. I found his demeanor to be very helpful, thoughtful, and supportive. So thank you, Mr. Koo, for how you've served, and look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
Cool, thank you.
So show us all what you got.
It's like a birthday bag. First is just a plaque.
Oh, that is cool.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And if other members of the board would like to say a few words before we move on.
I would love to. I wanted to also thank Board Trustee Koo, former president, for representing us well. I know many times outside of our meetings, we really appreciate, I know we all appreciated you always making all of the events and ensuring that we were represented, but also that you continue to bring your insight and your feedback to us. And so that continues to help us to serve better and to continue to do this job well. So thank you. Thank you for your leadership.
I also wanted to express my gratitude to former President Trustee Koo for leading the way this past year, and also for your diplomacy and your just all-around positive energy around the board and support. It's always appreciated. So thank you for your service.
Again, I'll say thank you. I've known you for many, many years, so it's been a pleasure to do all kinds of activities with you, and especially working with you on the board. Thank you for being polite, kind, helpful, sincere, and all the good stuff. I appreciate everything you've done.
Great. Thanks, Clayton. I've been impressed by your growth and development as a board member. And I'm very grateful, as Ms. Liana Anoa'i said, that you were able to attend as many functions as you were. That used to be my job. But once I wasn't a full-time entrepreneur and part-time substitute, and I started teaching full-time and I'm in graduate school, I'm not able to make all those events. So I'm very glad that you're there and we're always represented. And, showing your commitment and consistency. I'm not sure how many past board members or presidents have been products of this district, but you are a product of this district. I am too. And Adam Duran, I don't know if anyone remembers him as well. So it was nice to see another homegrown student take the leadership mantle. So thanks. Okay.
I just want to say thanks for all the kind words. I think it's been an honor to be present for the past year or so. I'm still going to be here working alongside all of you as a board member to just make sure that we are held accountable and also do the best job that we possibly can. So just look forward to the coming year ahead.
Nice. Okay. Would anyone else down the... No, okay. Next is reorganization of district board subcommittees. The board will consider the composition of existing subcommittees and appoint one to two board members as representatives to the district board subcommittees. So we have Parent Involvement Advisory Committee. We need to nominate one person. Wellness, one person. City of Daly City, Colma, and other local partnerships, 2 persons. Jefferson Union High School District and local elementary school districts, 2. Board Policies, 2. And Food Service Management Selection Committee, 1 or 2.
So I can give just a brief overview of it's pretty self-explanatory, but just to be clear, so someone says, I didn't know that's what I signed up for. So Parent Involvement Advisory Committee meets monthly, and it's a representative of every school site, should have one parent representative, sometimes two come from a school site, and a board member, along with Dr. Joyner and other district staff to talk about LCAP progress, ways of improving and increasing parental involvement in our schools. The Wellness Committee primary responsibility is the development of the district's wellness policy. And currently that is being looked at because there's new requirements for the Wellness Committee, wellness policy, so they're trying to incorporate that into the existing policy. That's the biggest one. There's other side things that they do, but the main purpose is that. City of Daly City, Colma, and other local partnerships, when there's opportunities or need to meet with representatives from either the City of Daly City, Colma, or other local partnerships, we call upon these two board members to attend on our behalf. The Jefferson Union High School District and local elementary school districts, similar. Two board members who will sit and meet with representatives from those other agencies. Board policies, actually, it's joked about, but this one's probably one of the more important committees that we have. I look at the board policies and I look at it, but the board members provide a filter for the community into the board policies and can ask questions about things that might be important to the community that may not be in the board policy. So that, I think, is an important role. And then the final one is a new one for this year. Food Service Management Selection Committee will serve on the committee along with Ms. Kessler and other representatives to look at and review applications for potential providers for food service management.
Thank you. So I think that we can just start with each committee and then just take nominees and we'll vote each one separately, just so that we don't have any confusion. Okay. So do we have any nominees for or volunteers for the Parent Involvement Advisory Committee?
What evening is this? Once a month, it's Tuesday or Thursday, but it's different dates. Starting in January every month.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from 6 to 7:30.
All right.
I don't mind volunteering for that. I would just put myself out and say that the reason why I asked if it was a consistent evening, because I have a standing monthly meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the same time.
Okay.
That's
It
my
is
only
a
concern.
consistent, and it's either Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah, that's my only concern, so, but if there's no volunteers, I could certainly put myself out there.
All right. Do we have any other volunteers?
I think that maybe what's happened in the past is that if someone doesn't go, then another board member goes. And I know I wasn't on it, but I went to some of the meetings. So I think some of these are much easier to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some of them that are probably more important than others. I don't mean more important, but I mean more that you have to do.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So is that a motion from Ms. Leonoi? Okay. So we'll need a second.
Do we have a second?
Us.
Second?
Okay. You mean repeat it? Okay, so we have a trustee Liana Anoa'i has volunteered for the Parent Involvement Advisory Committee. She made the motion and it was seconded by Mr. Koo or Ms. Brizuela. Okay, seconded by Ms. Brizuela.
Oh, so here it says only one person?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The second one is a Wellness Committee, and we have room for at least one, or it's asking for one. Any volunteer for that? If no volunteers, then I'll volunteer for the Wellness Committee. So I motion that I be on the Wellness Committee. Okay. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, Trustee Ali, Wellness. Okay. City of Daly City, Coma, and other local partnerships, and I'd like to nominate Marie Brizuela to be one of those persons. Okay. And do we have another volunteer or nomination?
I'll volunteer for that.
Okay, so we have. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye for both. Okay, great. And Jefferson Union High School District and local elementary school districts, we need 2.
I'll volunteer.
So we have Mr. Koo, second. And do we have another volunteer?
I'll do it.
Okay, Ms. Brizuela. I move that Ms. Brizuela be the second person.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So that was Brizuela. And who I lost track. Okay, cool. Board policies.
No, that's what we were doing.
Oh, that was.
Someone's excited to take that. I've had it for 2 years. I think it's a great experience for my colleagues. Jump on it.
Oh, you thought we were on that one?
So this one is not in any board bylaw or anything. It's just a practice to have 2 board members on it. If the board doesn't want to have anyone serve on it and feels comfortable reviewing them when everybody else does, that's appropriate too.
Well, we did that for years. It was just a new policy about a year ago,
Yeah.
but last time.
All right.
Because we really all should be looking at it.
Yeah, and you do, but we could not appoint somebody and then,
Okay.
unless there's someone who wants to do a preview.
All right. Do we have any volunteers then?
I was like,
There's no
I,
volunteers.
I don't mind.
All right. We have 1 volunteer. So I move that Trustee Koo be on the committee.
I second you.
All right. Do we have any other volunteers? Seeing that there's none, all those in favor of Mr. Koo?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. So, Mr. Koo. And,
May I just say, I think we need to present those to us at the board meeting, and that we should have an opportunity at that time to view it and say it's something, because that's our role. That's our job, our responsibility to do it, and we should do it then as a team. So you read it over and then show us what you think, and we'll discuss it publicly.
and the last committee, district/board subcommittee, Food Service Management Selection Committee.
I'd like to volunteer for that.
Me
Yep.
too.
Okay, great. So we have Trustee Manio and Trustee Liana Anoa'i.
I'll second both of those.
Thank you.
There's a motion.
Oh, was that the motion?
You're the motion, right?
What
Well, the volunteer makes the motion, I suppose. That's what we've done so far.
Okay, so I'll second both of those first motions.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item F, Superintendent Advisory Committees. The superintendent requests that board members indicate willingness and interest to serve as advisors from time to superintendent on issues relating to the areas below, which are board and budget and facilities and educational services. These advisory committees serve as advisory alone, and any matter requiring board action or direction will be brought to the full board.
I'd like to nominate Trustee Bruzuela for Budget and Facilities. That's okay.
You're nominating me?
Are we nominating or are we?
Okay.
It can be either.
We can do both.
This is,
Second,
this is not an action, right? This is just information. I need to know who's interested. But if you nominate someone who you think is interested and they agree, then that counts as interest.
Okay,
I'm interested in budget and facilities as well, too.
great.
so that's me and you. right?
So we have two. So we
Okay.
don't necessarily need to
You don't vote on it
Okay.
because I will call you.
Okay, great. And educational services, can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, educational services is broad, covers everything from preschool through K-8, student services, special education, English language learners. So throughout the year, there will be at least one, if not two or three, opportunities to meet and discuss issues that arise in those areas. Again, no decisions are made. It's just a filter. And oftentimes it's helpful for staff to go through something and say, hear what a board member feels is important or what the board member needs more information on so that when it comes to the full board, that can be incorporated.
Right. So there any, okay, great. Nice.
So who, is it?
Yes. Okay. Item A, board member acknowledgements and commendations. And we'll start from Mr. Koo.
No real any comments. Pretty much just gonna wish everybody happy holidays. I realize this is the last meeting before 2020, so just want to wish everybody happy holidays and a happy New Year as well.
See you next year? No. I believe that. I have much to say. Just that being at the conference, being at the conference, I was very proud to hear all the stuff about the program that we have in our district with the video movies, and also that we're doing pretty well in our district. And I've got some papers of how we can do even better, which is why we go to the conferences, so that we can learn more and bring it back to the district. So other than that, I don't have much else to say other than have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you next year.
Okay.
Maybe I'll see some of you before next year.
I also want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. We're coming to a close of a decade, so it's kind of a big deal, I think, this new year. I also wanted to commend the teachers and staff, specifically the RSP and SPC teachers at FDR. Superintendent Vidalis and I visited this morning their mainstreaming efforts, and we've been keeping abreast of the different strategies and things that they're doing there. And I really appreciated touring the site and getting to know some of the students even more there. And I think that they're all doing a great job. And I definitely want to see more of the other schools as well, especially, in light of the sentiment that was shared here in the last recent months with special ed and what the district's efforts are to help that help move that needle along. So definitely want to commend the staff at FDR for their efforts and encourage them to continue to move forward with it. Thanks.
I echo the sentiments of my board colleagues. I too would like to extend holiday wishes to all of our families and the staff and community. This year's been tough on my health. I live with lupus, and so I just recovered from pneumonia, and I was saddened that I couldn't join the team in San Diego. But what continues to help me thrive is the fact that I've got great colleagues sitting here with me. And of the many boards and other committees that I sit on, I will say that I have deep respect to serve with such intelligent, brilliant, and compassionate people who come to these meetings, who attend convenings on behalf of our community, and especially the students and families that we serve, I know in great faith that they continue to advocate for the well-being. So when I'm absent, I know that the job is being done and done well. And that means a lot to me, because that comes with trust, and just feeling confident that the work is getting done. And that's also happening at the administrative level. And for me, currently, the holidays is a good time for reflection. It's a good time to make amends with folks that, we may not have been in touch with. And that goes to say with families that we engage. I've just recently lost some family members that have been plagued by the measles epidemic that has hit my country in American Samoa and in Samoa. And majority of the victims that have lost their lives are under 5. And it's just heartbreaking, that when we talk about wellness committee, the reality is that some of them had dreamed to be here. And things were happening for those families to come through a pipeline that's being built at City College and College of San Mateo to become educators. And these were things that we were talking to the superintendent about, and at the Head Start level, because my day job, we have lost 23 teachers. And I think that's what's led to me working 12 to 14, 15-hour days, is that we've had to re-enter the classroom and not do our managerial roles. But with that being said, it gives me great pride to know that I have a small part in ensuring that our children are educated with quality and great care. And I know that those are the partners that I serve with in the trenches in the community. But my ask is to be grateful, because a lot of families that I am connected to are without. And it's very, very sad. So I'm grateful to sit in this seat today and be here, because I have been absent physically, but my heart is always here. So best of wishes, good health to all, and I look forward to seeing you all next year. Please be involved with the census. It's a voting year. Be engaged. It's a very important year for us. So please be informed and engaged. But blessings to all.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I don't have any acknowledgements at this time, but I want to say thanks to all my colleagues here for our reorganization this evening, and thanks to Ms. Brizuela for nominating me to be the president this coming year.
Come a long ways, the two of us here.
Okay. So now next is correspondence and superintendent comments.
Yeah, just want to share that a couple of weeks ago I did share that we had 2 schools qualify to submit their applications for distinguished schools, and I was able to review both applications, and I'm very proud of the work that those schools have put into their application and what that application represents of the work that they've done in the past. And hopefully we'll be receiving notification of a site visit and eventual award in the new year. I've had a couple of weeks here where my goal has been to try to visit 2 schools every week. I think I probably visit 2 schools every other week, so that's better than no schools any week. But I've been able to visit Ben Franklin a couple times, FDR, MH Tobias, and I'm just impressed by the joy that our students express. They're at school and they're happy to be there, and that means a lot to me. Of course, there are students who are saddened or upset by something, but the general feeling is that students are happy, and that's why we do what we do. I too attended the School Board Association meeting, and it's for school board members, but I found some sessions that were very helpful for me and the work that we're trying to do here. Off the top of my head, the ones that I thought that I attended, and you'll see why I'm so excited about board policies. I did attend a board policies and legal issues in California, just to get ahead of the ball and the curve around the things that many of our board policies are dictated by state law. and the legislature has been fairly active in the last several years informing schools and school policies. And so learning what those are and what's in the pipeline to come down was important for me. Specifically in that one, discussed a lot about the movement in California schools as well as legislature about improving campus security and hardening of school boundaries and prevention of trespassing and ensuring everyone's, that's at the school sites is registered at the front office, and we're pretty good on most of those matters, but it's something that is starting to get increased attention because of the happenings across the country about how do we support schools to become increasingly more secure. Another one I attended was best practices and inclusion. That was really good. I got a lot of resources that I'll be sharing with our department. And the last one I think is something that maybe Ms. Liangano Ai and Mr. Koo will be bringing back to the full board as they complete the equity and governance sessions. But this is the development of district equity policy, which is something I believe that we probably have ahead of us, and we'll be revisiting that in the near future.
Okay. Now this item 9C, persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. And we have a speaker card from Ms. Pamela D. Giovanni.
Surprise, right?
Supervisor, Councilwoman.
Good evening, honorable board members. I wanted to be here tonight to say thank you to the outgoing president for your leadership for this year. And I too have seen the growth, and as you continue to serve the community. It's not an easy job when you sit in those seats. I can kind of empathize a little bit, but I make those hard decisions. But at the same time, you're doing it for the community and you stand for your values, and that is very reflective in the whole board. So that is very proud that this board really does that. Even no matter what your discussions are, when I see the respect, I see the thoughtfulness, I see the thinking process that you're thinking through as you're going through to make that vote, because it's not easy. But congratulations, President Ali. And I know you'll be doing a great job, and as you take everybody forward, and I think that this equity issue is reflected on this board, and that's another thing to be proud of in our community, and I think that needs to translate out more, and you have my complete support. And when you address that, and if you need any support, you probably don't, but just know that I am here to support, and my full support. And that's my individual, whatever anyone else does. And congratulations, Vice President. Mabel, you came into this and then you probably didn't even know what in the world. Well, you kind of knew, but not really, right? But now you stepped into this role, you two have grown, and you are now in this position because they would have never, ever nominated you if they didn't feel that confident that you were ready for this. So I see that these people are blossoming, and Fo, you know where my heart is, and with Samoa, besides trying to cry and pray for your health and the condolences for your loved one, your leadership, like you said, is not just in the seat, it shines all through this board. So my biggest respect and love to all of you, and thank you for serving the community with such honorable accolades. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh. That must be fair.
Okay. Item 11C, resolution number 19-12-11A. Resolution increasing the revolving cash fund. The administration recommends adoption of this resolution, increasing the revolving cash fund.
I had a lot of concerns about this item.
Sure.
because this happened to us several years back, and it became a real problem, the size of the amount of money not coming before the board. So I'm not comfortable with this one at all, because I saw the damage that was done, and I'm not saying it will happen again, but it could very well be. And it takes away the authority of the board to put our vote to the expenditure of a large amount of money. And I would like you to think twice before this, coming before this board.
Yeah, so
And I really, really, if I have to pull out all the paperwork to show you what had transpired, I really don't think that this is something, it takes the power away from the board.
So this is a fund that all school districts have, and all school districts utilize.
I'd like to find that out myself,
Yes,
if that's true.
yeah, we can get you that information and the amounts that they have. Some go as high as 50. We don't need that. 75. We don't need that. This year, we're asking for 30, and maybe just for this year, and we can bring it back down after. We do have our workforce housing project that we often get requests for check and payment, and we don't want to wait the 2.5 weeks to get a check cut. So it'd be nice for us to be able to write that check locally and be able to present it, or not to have one of us have to write the check out of our personal accounts and wait the 2 weeks to get reimbursed, which we've had to do already.
I have written
checks. Yes, I know.
Okay, and then I'll make a suggestion, that we exactly say what it's for only, not a blank check. This is a blank check for $30,000 without coming to the board. It doesn't set well with me, because it's like saying
We
it
do
can
have.
go anywhere.
We have,
It can go anywhere.
how many signatures are required on that? 2 signatures are required on that. It's either myself, Ms. Kessler, Mr. Chand, that sign on that, so there's not just one person writing it.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm just telling the rest of the board what kind of protections and procedures we have in place. And also, there's always invoices that we require to match the amount. The other one, which is maybe of interest to you as well, is we have, with the amount that we have several, every school has some petty cash at each school, so that's about half the amount of the 6,000. We have had in the past when there have been mistakes on paychecks and staff members come to the office on a Friday afternoon. This happened several years ago, the Friday right before the winter break, and their check was wrong and it didn't include everything that they needed. And they needed this money to be able to pay some of their bills that they had coming up. And so we were able to write them a check for what was left as a remainder. And then again, staff covered and wrote a check to that individual, so that then they got reimbursed, in 2 weeks after that. But anyway, so those are the two reasons why we request this this increase. And I am not aware of the past harms that have happened, but we can certainly look into that. And Ms. Kessler has a lot of experience in this and can help support providing appropriate protections so that it does not happen.
I also would like to, I can bring all that information to you. I'd like to ask the question, now that you've brought it up, is how is there an error in someone's paycheck?
I'm not familiar, again, this happened a couple years ago. It wasn't their regular paycheck, it was their extra paycheck, so it got stuck somewhere. The stipend sheet did not make it through the procedure in time for the check to be cut. No fault of the employee, but it may have sat on someone's desk a bit longer than it should have to make the payroll cut deadline.
And even that is not an explanation that I'd feel comfortable with, that it sat on someone's desk.
I'm not saying that, I'm just guessing that perhaps that's how it happened. I don't know for sure.
So can I just get a quick clarification? So we need to have money available for emergencies that come up where an employee needs some money or one of our contractors?
Primarily, this amount is set because we have to write checks for, the last one we wrote was $23,000. We had time to get that procured.
It's usually for the City of Daly City or DSA Department of School Architects.
Okay.
In construction, for getting in line for a permitting process.
Right.
They want the check when they go, and we usually don't know until like a day before we get the dollar amount. And then it will hold us up, especially with DSA. And we had to scramble and try to get the check ahead of, as quickly as possible for City of Daly City. And that was like the $23,000 check that what happens with the county is they pull random audits. And if the particular check gets pulled for the audit, then it postpones us being able to get it. And so we were able to get it during the Thanksgiving break, just in time for them to be able, for the architects to be able to take it down to City of Daly City and get us in line for construction, well, permitting.
Planning approval.
Permitting.
So it sounds like the main usage of it is when there's something that's time sensitive and we can't wait.
It is.
Well, I mean, we can wait, but it just delays something by 2 to 3 weeks.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Or?
No, and my thought is because there's that lapse of the 2-week meeting time, that would be reported out at the following meeting. I mean, or would it have to wait to get reported out in a future report?
Usually it will be reported out when we.
Reimbursement process to that
Reimbursement or
account.
the warrants listings.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe you can update us and let us know when it's done, because you send us
Yeah.
updates all the time. So at least inform us that
Yeah.
this is happening, not that we have to find out a month later.
Yeah, no, we can do that on a, when we do write a check
We have a.
for other special occasions that are not the school's petty cash, because they get a certain amount and they spend that and they submit the receipts and then we give them more back.
Right.
But I think we could do that for the ones that are non-petty cash for sure.
Yeah. I mean, with that being
Because
said.
they're not that often.
Right. I mean, just from my experience, that this would be infrequent. This is not something that would happen regularly, but my ask would be that we would receive that notification once it does happen. But I do see that this is important because we all know that when timelines are dragged, that always has a dollar sign attached to it, and it increases costs on something, especially construction. So I always appreciate the insight from a lot of the history that Trustee Brusuela brings. I mean, we definitely want to be diligent in our fiduciary responsibilities. But with that being said, I have full confidence in the administration, and I support this being put forth. So with that, I would like to put the motion forth based on what I've heard in discussion.
Second.
All right, since this is a resolution, we'll have a roll call.
Mr. Koo?
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela?
Reluctantly, yes.
Miss Manio?
Aye.
Miss Leah Inga Anawai?
Aye.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
May we receive.
That's
from-
unanimous.
May we receive, on a weekly, monthly, or whatever basis, a report on what's being spent out of petty cash?
At the school sites?
No. Well, that wouldn't be hard either. They
Yeah.
would send it to you and you'd send it to us. But I mean, you talk about petty cash, but we never know what's being spent under petty cash.
Well, I'll see what
or-
we have available.
Am I
at
saying the
that-
right
that-
verbiage?
that- At that level, but for certainly, I think anything that we write from the district office to an agency or to an individual to pay for something that's needed, we'll certainly
So,
let the board know
am
for that.
I saying it correctly? Is the petty cash is where you, let's say you have so much money in there, and then people spend it, and then it replenishes?
So,
Most of it isn't cash.
No, I know.
It's a checking account.
No, I know it's a.
But yes.
But I'm just saying is.
But yes, every school site gets an amount that they keep at the site in their safe.
Yeah.
And teachers come in, they went and they purchased special pens for a project that they had, and they had that allocated. They present the receipt,
And then
and then they get reimbursed.
it gets refunded, that
It get-
petty cash.
When that petty cash drops down, they prepare a report and they send it to the business office. The
And
business
then it
office
comes
said,
through the
So what about administration's office?
warrant list.
we don't have petty cash.
You don't have petty cash?
No.
The business department does.
Okay, I thought
guys
so.
do. I
I thought
don't.
somebody
I
did.
don't have petty cash.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is that a monthly thing too?
It's when it gets low, and it goes through the warrant list, like maybe a custodian had to go and get something and used his own personal money, and he brings a receipt.
And then you reimburse
And then we reimburse them. We take the receipt, we reimburse them. And we don't do a warrant every time because it might be $2.50.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it might be something very small. So.
But you have a record of that, right?
Oh, a record of everything, yes.
And that is one of the audits that's performed a couple times a year, and that the board gets the petty cash ledgers and make sure that the receipts match.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Item 11D, first interim budget review. Ms. Julie Kessler, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, will present the 2019 to 21st interim financial report for period ended October 31st, 2019. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees review the first interim financial report, approve the filing of the certification of financial condition, and approve the revision of the adopted budget to correspond to the projected year totals for revenues and expenditures.
Okay, I see I've got 2 minutes here. I'll do my best. Good evening.
In 2 minutes, right?
So, as you know, we do this a couple times a year. This is the first interim, and we do it twice a year, once for October and once for at the end of January, so that you know what our financial position is throughout the year, and it's not a surprise at the end of the year. This is the first interim. So moving from the adopted budget to the first interim, we had changes, increase in revenues of almost $1.3 million. And I'll just point out the major ones. We actually had a loss of S&C grant funds due to a decrease in unduplicated count percentage. And this is before our CalPAD, so it will be adjusted again later on this year, and that'll be on another slide. Also on here, the second bullet point, that's a real biggie. That's one-time funds that Governor Newsom gave out for special education preschool. We received $1.1 million. That is great for us because it is unrestricted and it can help pay for our preschool classes, which we don't get ADA for. So, and then the other thing I want to just point out is the MAW funding there. That is one-time in nature because the federal government held up MAW funding for years, and so they're giving us back pay. We do get MAW funding on a yearly basis where we have budgeted $150,000 on a yearly basis, but this money was for past years that they finally let out. They had audited for many years. And it wasn't just us. It was the entire state. And many districts had to pay a lot of money back. We did not have to pay money back. We received money. So we're really happy about that. Moving on to how expenditures change. Expenditures went up nearly $1.8 million. The majority of this is due to carryovers. First off, there's the site discretionary and site S&C grant carryovers, as well as the donation carryovers that the sites have, and new donations. So between those two alone was $1 million. Additionally, what's now included in the budget is the negotiated increase in salaries and the benefits that go along with that, and that was for our teachers unit, management and confidential, and that does not include, and that'll come to another slide, CSCA. We're not complete with that, but there's another slide there for that. That's the major amount of our increase in expenditures. So I've told you what the changes in the budget are to get to this first interim. Now I want to go over really important here, and that's how we're moving forward. What do our finances look like as we move into the other years? Because that's what you're certifying. You're certifying that we can meet our financial obligations this year and in the following 2 years. And that is really important. And as you know, we've been having a few struggles, and mostly because of declining enrollment. So what is included in the projections of the multi-year projection? And so what's included is the COLA that the state has given us, has told us what it's going to be. We have no one-time funds, because one-time funds in nature are one-time for the current year. Of course, we hope for one-time funds in the future, but until our governor tells us that he's going to give us something, we're not going to include it. And then it depends on how strong that statement is. Again, the unduplicated account, we have reduced the unduplicated account to the amount that we believe we will have this year. And CalPads will be done by next week. Our technology department is working very hard on that. When that goes in as certified, that is what we will use to determine our unduplicated percentage. Prior to, there'll be a second submission that will be done in January or February. And prior to that second submission, I will personally go in and do a download to compare what technology's got with the food service department in our free and reduced students. In case there are any irregularities, I can find those. It also includes EL students as well as foster students. So we have, for the out years, we have reduced the current year to the current year numbers, what the unduplicated percent is, and that of course will affect our S&C grant funding. Again, when CalPads comes out, we will be able to redo it, and then in January, hopefully by the second interim, I will have a real valid number. Additionally, the big deal that we have in this district is declining enrollment. And so in the out years, this year we have declining enrollment protection, and in the out years that declining enrollment protection goes away. So for the current year, we get the ADA, the LCFF based on the ADA of last year. And we have 107 less ADA. So it's a little higher in enrollment this year than we had last year. The cost of that to us is $1.1 million. We are getting that this year, and we will lose it in the future years. And that's something we can't know until we have our enrollment and it's closed out. We can speculate, but we can't know what it's going to be until it happens. So that is the difficulty that we're dealing with in this district. We'll be looking at that in another slide as well. Stepping column, we always include that, and we always include the increase in STRS and PERS. One day we'll get to that cap level, and we have, once we get out to year 22-23, we will need, according to this, $1.4 million reduction. It's actually $1,350,000. That is not part of the official interim report. We have 2021 for the first out year, 21-22 for the second out year. 22-23, we include it, but it is not the official part of this report that goes to the state. Not only is it not required, it is not even in it. So we have some transfers as well from the textbook fund and from the technology fund to help support technology and textbooks that go along with it. I look forward to the year that we have increased enrollment or increased funding because of the state, whether it's one-time or ongoing preferably, where we can start contributing back to these funds. But these funds were in part to help us get through difficult periods. when cash is flush, and we can afford to pay for some of these expenditures from the general fund by itself, then we do that. But fortunately, we have those funds to support some of these programs, and so we transfer them in to help support them. Not too much is being used in the next few years. The last couple of years, we had a lot of textbooks come in, so we brought in more than, like, about $1 million each of the last few years. And here it's only $356,214 and $120,000 at this time for the out years. So what is not included in the multi-year projection, as I said, CSEA, we have not completed negotiations with CSEA. And so for this current year, we've met with them twice, and the negotiations are in progress. But any kind of increase that we give them is not included in this multi-year projection or in this year's expenditures either, because we are actually negotiating for the current year as well. Again, we will have the verification of the CalPads soon, and so by second interim, it will be in there. We don't have it yet, and the submission date to the state is not until next week. We don't have any kind of adjustments at this point for staffing adjustments to go down to reflect the loss in ADA. And also the possible additional decline in enrollment for any future years. Currently, if we roll up all our grades, duplicate kindergarten, roll out 8th grade, we would end up with 109 fewer kids next year than this year, and that would be 105 ADA and another $1.1 million in reduced funding. Again, we would have 1 year of declining enrollment protection, and we do not know when ADA will flatten out or go back up. And it is, or enrollment flatten out and go back up. Enrollment is cyclical in nature. It goes up and down. It always has done that. And we were on an upswing for many years, and now we're on a downswing. And I don't know when it will bottom out.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Of course.
So, if we do have the declining enrollment and the insurance the protection kicks in, you said for 1 year, and then if we have more declining enrollment, is the protection gone?
No, the protection this year is we get it for the enrollment or ADA of last year.
All right.
Protection of next year will be for the ADA of this year.
This year, I got you.
Okay. And so we don't know if we're going to have, what's going to happen with enrollment.
Okay.
And there's so many different factors.
Mm-hmm.
And just so that you know, that in the 22-23 year, that $1.4 million of reductions, they're not identified with anything right now. It's just reductions. And we do have reserves that can help us through some of that as well, as long as it's not ongoing. So eventually something has to be done. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later on as well. So what does that multi-year projection look like? Well, here you go. So what you see here is the current year and the following 2 years, basically every year out, it's a $2 million deficit spending that we've got going on here. That 22-23 year, the reason why it's only $83,000 deficit spending is because it includes a $1.4 million cut and reductions. And that's why, but the bit of good news is 1.4 million plus the 80 is like 1.5 million instead of 2. And the reason why it gets a little bit smaller here, it goes up in 2021 and then it starts going down, is because the COLA is greater than the step and column increases that we have and the STRS and PERS increases that we have. So the COLA helps us out of that. But clearly, we can't just sit around and do nothing if our ADA, our enrollment continues to drop.
I have a question about the COLA.
Okay.
Is that guaranteed, or is this, we know that we're going to get the
No.
COLA?
The COLA is not guaranteed. The COLA changes regularly. It's expected to go down. I think it is, I'm not sure which year it is. This is the state gives us this information. This comes from them, and we go with that. But again, in another slide, I'll talk more about potentially the governor's January proposal, which we don't know a lot about yet, but some thoughts that I have. But as you see, the $2 million deficit spending, we don't have to make the reductions at this point. Of course, once we have CSEA negotiations, if we put that in the formula, that will change this some, right? So, but that is on our radar. And we do have reserves to take care of us until we can see what happens in January with the governor's proposal, where we're going with that. Once we make those reductions, they would be ongoing reductions, but that would basically be, we would not be deficit spending anymore. So we've done a really good job, actually, being that, and I'll show you what we've lost a few slides later due to declining enrollment and the additional costs of PERS and STRS. You'll see that information. But you've done a very good job in making reductions where possible and still supporting the staff that through the negotiations and such. Years ago, when we were building up those reserves, this is why we were building them up, so that you could make the decisions in a timely manner without having to make them overnight and see what happens. So this is what happens with the cash. Oh, that's interesting. I think the slides show the cash. Yeah, they show it vertical instead of horizontal. Something I noticed. And in that last year, 22-23, again, that is including the $1.4 million of cuts. And at that point, it just levels out. I want to go back this one slide here. You see at the bottom there, well, kind of in the white area, the middle of the white, it says a 5% reserve. That's what a 5% reserve would be, the dollar amount. But if you go down to the very last white line that's in the group of whites, you see the negative numbers in the last two ones. That's because the 5% can't be met. What's met is a 3%. And in the last year, 3% can only be met with the reductions. So again, this is what our cash looks like, and with the reductions, we would be able to maintain a 3% reserve for economic uncertainty. Oh, okay, so this is not supposed to look like this, is it not?
We didn't have this.
Okay, so if you don't mind looking at your
Why is this different looking?
pages instead. It's the first time it's done that on here. Okay, so this is showing our deficit spending, which you just saw on the other slide. But just so it's more clear to see, in order for us to meet our reserve for economic uncertainty, this is what we need in the 22-23 year, is the first year that we need reductions for the first interim. Again, the second interim may be different. However, again, in January, the governor will come out with his January proposal for the 2021 year. And I feel that he is likely to give one-time funds again. He's expressed that he wants to support preschool. He's done it last year, and I feel that there will be something this year, barring a recession. And now they're saying that there isn't a recession that is imminent in the near future. Clearly, one day there will be one, but it's not forecast in the near future. And the state has been doing very well. So I do feel that there will be one-time funds again. Additionally, the governor put money towards STRS and PERS last year, and I think that this is a way that he will try to use funds that he doesn't want to commit for the future. And if he puts it towards the liability, it's like getting ongoing funds for us. So I do feel there's that, and as well, November 2020, they're hoping to get on the ballot it's called the split roll property tax measure. Right now, it has only a 46% support. However, there was the full and fair funding initiative that was pulled off. It was supported by CSBA and AXA, but they've pulled it off because they don't want to compete. It was a 54% supported, and now it's down to 40. Went down to 48, but they didn't want to compete. Have two big education bills that would bring in money, compete with each other, with the hopes that the split roll tax would go up, would pass. And we don't know if our governor is going to support it or now yet. He may not want to support it with a 46% support level, but this support level hopefully will go up now that the other one has been pulled off. People might be making choices between the two or feel like, what if both of them pass? I'll vote no on both. So hopefully with one there, it'll get the support. And that would bring K-14 education between $6 and $10 billion a year if it passed. So we'd have to wait a year. And if that happened, we would get somewhere between $5 and $10 million. If it doesn't pass, it's at least on everybody's radar that education needs money. And so I think that's the important thing to take away from this.
Ms. Kessler, can you please explain, I think you may have mentioned it, but I'm still a little confused by, are we supposed to be saving 5% or 3%?
We are required to save 3%. At the district, the board, before I was here, expressed that they wanted it to be a 5% reserve for economic uncertainty. Board policy states that if possible, we would like to have a 17% fund balance. And that's not happening now, clearly. Whenever possible, we should strive to have a 17% fund balance and not just spend funds unnecessarily. So the legal requirement is 3%. The board wants 5. That's why we show 5, and then we show what we're shy of.
Ridiculous. That didn't happen.
I'm not writing a check for that one, okay? Did that answer your question?
Yes.
So this slide is showing us what our declining enrollment has done to us over the years. Our last high year was year 13-14. From then we started going down. We had a little bit of an uptick on 15-16, but you can see how we have lost 510 students in this period, during this period of time. And the dollars that are associated with these students is $5 million. That's for, right now, we've lost $5 million ongoing, year after year, because of declining enrollment. And of course, as you saw, If we have declining enrollment next year, it's another $1.1 million that's added to that. Yes?
We're having such a large amount of declining enrollment, then we're having less teachers, aren't we?
What, I'm sorry, the declining enrollment?
Well, the way it's sounding like we lost a tremendous amount of students, that would also mean that we would have less teachers, less classrooms.
And we do
Less
have fewer
expenses.
teachers. However, they don't come in packages of 20 per grade level, per school site. And so what happens is different. We've got 14 schools. And so if you take the 500 and divide that out, and plus year after year, when you lose maybe 65 district-wide, there may be only a few at each school. I mean, that could be 5 per school, right? 5 students, and it's hard to get. And even if we were able to reduce staffing for every, say, 20 students that we lost, it still doesn't cover all of our costs. It only covers a part of our costs.
Yeah, and I think we've shared in the past, and we'll share it again. For every student, only about 30 or 40% of the funds that student generates goes toward their classroom teacher. The other 60% go to other staff at that school and across the district, materials, programs, and those things. So for every student that comes, yeah, we can take care of 30 to 40% by reducing staff accordingly, but we also have to get rid of 60% somewhere else.
So, and so this $5 million is just based on LCFF funding. We still get $512 at this time per student for state special ed. That's not included in this. There's a lottery, there's other revenues that we get but this is the big one. And so this is the one I just wanted to show you. This is how, I show this slide all the time, I update it for you, how PERS and STIRS have affected the district financially. At this point, for the current year, it is costing us $3,651,544 more than it cost in 14-15, just due to the increase in the percentage that we have to pay. And that is because of years and years, decades, of not funding STIRS and PERS at the necessary level in order to be able to meet the liability in the future, just like Social Security. It's the same kind of thing. But what the state is doing is making STIRS and PERS whole over the years, over a couple of decades, was 3 decades, now it's probably about 2.5 decades, making the STIRS and PERS whole, where that's not happening with Social Security right now, right? So there is a purpose to it. And this is also after the governor put $606 million towards STIRS for the 1920 and 2021 years combined, and put $1.64 billion, that's not a mistake, it's not supposed to be an M, it's a B, billion dollars towards the STIRS liability. That reduced our STIRS liability for future years. This is what I'm talking about. If he does this again, it'll reduce it in future years again. And if he does something for the current year or next year. PERS, same thing. PERS is a smaller amount that he put, $244 million for this year and next year, and $660 million for the out years for the liability. Again, remember that STIRS affects school districts. Doesn't have municipalities and other places. PERS there's a lot more that are in PERS. So when the governor puts stuff towards money towards PERS, we get a portion of it, helps the schools. But when it stirs, it's for schools. And so we benefit greatly out of that. So that's the crux of it. I do want to give you a couple of important takeaways. And the number one takeaway is our enrollment, our declining enrollment, and how that is affecting us, and how that can continue to affect us in a negative or positive way. If it keeps going down, we're going to have to keep reducing. However, there are some things that can affect that, and of course, that's what the governor does, the state does, legislature does with the budget. One-time funds help us, ongoing funds help us a lot more. So if we can get something beyond COLA, and if it's particularly if it's ongoing, and if the state ballots can pass and lift us up out of this, then the enrollment will still not be good, but we can take care of that enrollment situation. And this is basically barring any kind of major recession. A minor recession, we could probably get through with that, but the state is doing very well. And, hopefully, if not ongoing, then one-time funds. So enrollment is the difficulty that we're having. This is what's crippling the district. But we're all working with it and with your direction, and with just kind of hope that enrollment increases. And
So,
that the governor.
do you know historically, like when there's been declining enrollment, about how many years that happens before it starts going back up? Because you said it's a cycle.
No, I don't know. I mean, I guess we could look over, I'm not even sure I could get the data to look over that history without doing a lot of research. But declining enrollment is happening statewide. It's a statewide problem.
Yeah, and I think maybe for the first time, California is losing children.
That's
The
right.
state of California is
As a
losing
whole.
children as a whole. So
People can't
there's some
afford to live
districts
here.
some districts are increasing the number of students they have. Central Valley's districts are increasing. Peninsula, Bay Area, coastal districts are losing students.
And it could be partly because of the cost of living.
I think so, yeah.
It is. The cost of housing is outrageous.
Yeah.
Nobody can live here.
I have
But, prior to me coming here, there was a lot of, it was dropping, and it had dropped a lot. And then when I came, is the same timing that it started going up, and it went up year after year. It went up. It was great. But it was wonderful. And the revenues were in, and we started saving, and we put it aside. We put it aside to build up the reserves. And during those times, just like the governor's been doing now, is building the reserves so that when it does drop, because it's always inevitable that it's going to eventually drop, that you have the ability to do what it is that you've been able to do in maintaining the education as much as possible, everything that we can, and getting through it. And then one day, if it goes up and I'm not here anymore, remember, whoever's standing up here, support them in building those reserves so that when you go through this again, you can handle it in the same manner that you've been handling. I know it's nail biting, it's difficult, and we don't like it. But considering what we've gone through, considering those losses, we've done a really good job.
Okay.
You guys have done a really good job. So, but in any case, at this time, we have we can meet our current year and following 2-year financial obligations, which means we would have a positive certification. Again, come second interim, we may either have to identify reductions or use groups for a period of time. But by then, at least we'll know what the governor is saying for the following year. and we'll have more information to be able to determine where we're going. So for now, I would recommend approving a positive certification.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, I wanted to talk about two topics, actually. Do we know our district's Medi-Cal enrollment stats? Like, I know it's only 150,000 a year, but are the majority of the students who are eligible enrolled into Medi-Cal? For the
what?
MA funds?
I'm sorry?
The MA funds?
Law funds?
Mhm.
The students, it's not that the students are eligible, it's the staff that are supporting, doing supporting roles, administration that helps students to receive services. The amount of time that they spend doing that, basically the federal government pays us back for that time. They record the time they spend that qualifies for reimbursement from the federal government, and that's what the MA funds are for.
Yeah, and so for Medi-Cal students, certain services that they receive in the district, speech therapy, counseling, that kind of thing, we can qualify for reimbursement of those services. And so anytime we know someone qualifies for Medi-Cal, we make sure that we can submit that for reimbursement. We don't really go around asking people, do you have Medi-Cal or do you have our private insurance? We don't do that. We don't have that kind of records. But we do, whenever a student is Medi-Cal eligible and has received Medi-Cal services, they do direct certify for free and reduced lunch. So there is so that's how we know that somebody has been receiving Medi-Cal benefits, because the county has a program where they share with school districts. These are the students who received Medi-Cal services in our facilities, and they should be able to qualify for free and reduced lunch, regardless of whether the parents have applied for it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, some our undocumented families aren't aware that their children are eligible for full scope Medi-Cal, or they're afraid to give the government their information. Is if there's a way we can promote that to our students, I think, just upping.
Yeah, we send out flyers a couple times a year
Okay.
to families to say, apply for medical insurance, but that you're eligible if you make, and we try to promote it in that way. But I think most of the times that's captured when they go into the clinic with someone with bronchitis, a child with bronchitis or something like that, and the doctors and the nurses sort of capture them at that moment.
Okay. The other thing I also wanted to talk about, I know the student enrollment decline is statewide, and, but at what point do we have to close schools down? Because we have a neighboring district that just shut down 4 schools, right, over the summer. So I don't ever want this district to get to that point. So, when we get to that kind of red flag area, we want to know, and what are we, I know we have a lot of effort in recruiting and retaining teachers, but what are our efforts as far as student enrollment?
We always do what we can with our students to enroll more students. Daly City doesn't have the problem that other communities have with lots of private schools in the boundaries. San Francisco Unified only enrolls 30% of their students in public school. The other 70% go to private school. We don't have that same ratio here because there are far fewer. It is a question. Do we know what our percentage is?
Yeah, because we have at least 3
We have 3.
parochial schools.
We do, yeah.
I would
haven't-
imagine that they're full.
I can check. I don't
mean-
know. I can't guess. But anyways,
Schools, that's not that many students, so.
yeah, I can figure that out. And not all of those live in our school boundaries. Many of them do. And of course, we have some students who go to private schools outside of our community. And that I have no idea of how to capture that. But the idea of closing schools is one that is always on our radar. And what is the tipping point when we decide to close a school? And you don't always get the savings that people say you're going to get.
Right.
by closing the school. We've closed schools before, and it's just more disruptive than anything. So it has to be a really clear purpose behind it. We're always looking at that possibility. Nobody wants that school to be theirs, and likely if we had to do it, it would need to be one of the center schools, because those are easier to get to from those communities, and nobody wants their school in Broadmoor or in, outside, Skyline or something like. Nobody wants those schools to close.
That's
people,
right.
People always say,
Right.
how about, why don't we do, one of the schools on the edges, But those are the schools that are hardest to get to, and the family is hardest to get to the other schools. So anyway, it is a long process, and for sure, we would do it over a period of a couple of years.
There's also the risk that you close a school, a charter comes in and steals your kids away.
And then you lose more kids.
And then you lose more kids.
We've already gone through closing schools. We had 21 at one time. How many do we have now?
4.
I mean, I know, I just wanted someone to tell me. Say it. Yeah,
State preschool.
so that was, but that was because we lost students too.
And having a state preschool too, that's good because students who come here,
They-
they're coming into our district from outside, some from outside the district, and perhaps they stay in the district.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's go.
Are there any other questions from any other board members? No? Okay, well, thank you. And now we must take action.
Well, have to.
So we did the first part of it, which is reviewing it. Now we need to vote if we're going to approve the filing of the certification of financial condition, which is positive. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. That sounds good. I'll make a motion to approve the filing of the positive certification of financial condition.
I'll second the motion.
Do we want to make that motion for both of those things, or do you want to do two separate motions?
I think we'll separate it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And next, approval of the revision of the adopted budget to correspond to the projected year totals for revenues and expenditures. We have a motion. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous on both. Thank you. Item 12A, certificated retirement. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from Duane Easterbrooks, RSP teacher at MHT GV, and effective November 16th, 2019. Ms. Easterbrooks has been employed by the district since August 27th, 2007. The administration also requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending Ms. Easterbrooks for her years of service with the district. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to motion to approve the certificated retirement for Ms. Easterbrooks.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Now we have a certificated resignation. The administration recommends acceptance of the following resignation. Susan Veronica Norris, preschool
gosh.
teacher, General Pershing.
Sure.
Resignation effective November 8, 2019. Ms. Norris has been employed by the district since September 2nd, 1999. Ms. Norris was also employed as a classified bilingual aide from September 1990 to September 1999. The administration also requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending Ms. Norris for her years of service with the district. Do we hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the resignation of Susan Veronica Norris, preschool teacher at General Pershing, effective November 8th, 2019.
We have a second.
And that a resolution be prepared commending her for her services.
I'm sorry. So we have a second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item 13A, retirement classified personnel. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from the following employee and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending him for his years of service with the district. Custodian 1, CK/DO, okay, which CK? Central Kitchen and District Office. Effective 12/31/2019, date of hire 10/26/08, and that is Ricardo Obina.
I make a motion to approve the retirement request for Ricardo Obina and prepare a commendation for him to recognize his service with the district effective 12/31/2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. We get into Clayton.
Down to 14.
Item 14A, review of board policies, administrative regulations, BP/AR 1240, volunteer assistance. The board will review board policies, administrative regulations for 1240, volunteer assistance.
Yes, so the volunteer assistance, BP 1240, as well as AR 1240. This is the one was requested that we bring this forth for discussion around volunteer facility projects. The last page in the AR talks about the types of projects that need prior approval in order to be done and be supported. Oftentimes you have parent groups at school sites that want to do a project. Other times you have outside groups that want to do a project. We had the whole ramp at General Pershing that was built by a Rebuilding Together group that came in and did that. And sometimes you just have a school site that wants to modify their facility and they have donation funds that they want to use. And so that is, the board policy specifies that there be approval. And there's a process for getting that done. Anyway, yeah, so I just wanted to highlight that for the board because as we respond to things, we do go back to the board policies and we do review and make sure that we're in accord with the board policy. And I think there was a concern about a piece of equipment that was not being installed appropriately or quickly, and we've gone back and we've made sure. I mean, the application had not been submitted, so we've made sure that that is submitted and we're moving through that according to board policy.
All right. Was that an issue that was brought up during public comment?
Yes.
Okay. So, is there a way we can report back out on that progress at another meeting?
Sure, I can get that information to you.
Yeah.
I think right now they're trying to figure out how they might need to pay for the installation. Because that is another requirement that when there's volunteer projects, that not only do they buy the equipment, but they also pay for the installation of that particular item.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be the same group. It could be a variety of groups, but the policy does not allow other groups to spend the district's money by giving us gifts and asking us to put it in. So that has to happen as part of the gift of the item.
Makes a lot of sense.
So wasn't there more to it, that situation though, that they didn't have the water for the students and they stepped up to the plate to furnish that?
There was water. I believe there was water.
Okay, I'm just saying,
Anyway,
from what I was
I know,
told.
we hear different things, but what I'm saying is the board needs to stay right now to board policy, so I just wanted to make sure that we stick to the role of the board, and it is being resolved. We're working through it, but it's,
So what you're saying, if they're having an issue at the school that's not being taken care of for the safety or health of a child, and they want to help by buying something, but certainly can't install it, then the district will not install it. That's what you're saying?
The district's not obligated to install it.
Okay, but the answer is no, you don't
No,
have to do
yeah,
it.
so, but that's why there's the application for them to request it, and so that you know before you do
Sure.
anything, what the.
So this will be something that should be written up and given to all of the school sites with the print.
Yeah.
Generally, it would be PTAs that are doing it, but let them know ahead of time
Yeah.
that this is the policy.
Yeah, we do try to refresh this on an annual basis, and we will do so again.
Yeah, because they don't know what we're voting on here, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, do we need a vote on this one?
So this was just a
This is just
discussion
information,
item.
discussion.
That's it, right?
Are there any other questions from board members on this item? Okay.
Specifically with respect to the reason why we're bringing this up in the first place, is that being handled at that school site?
Like I mentioned, I think right now they've got everything they need. It's just figuring out how is it going to be installed.
Are we going to do that for them?
We're not going to pay for it. The district will not. I think that places the district at a sort of hostage to anybody who wants to buy something and forces the district to put it in. It's not that much money, I think.
They're forcing you. That
No,
verbiage
I'm
is
just
not
saying.
really
I'm just
very
saying
pleasant to hear.
that we need to make sure that we apply this universally. Like we a couple of years ago, we had a school site. I mentioned General Pershing, who got a ramp donated from a Rebuilding Together project for wheelchair accessibility. They went through this process. The group that was helping them do it went through the process. They saw what everything was going to be, and they agreed that they would front that. And the district agreed to sign off on it. Sometimes they don't finish in a weekend or whatever. Like, what do we have to do to make sure it's done? We had another situation at another school with one of these groups that came in, and they, broke plumbing lines and all sorts of things, but because the district had agreed to it beforehand, we, in a sense, were left with no plumbing, and so we had to go in and repair that out of our funds. We didn't install what needed to be installed, we just repaired what was damaged as a result of it. So that is, the district stance is that, and the policy states that it is the responsibility of the organization to pay for the installation.
So
for
are they
this-
going to do it?
I just told you that that's right now what they're trying to figure out how they're going to do it. I believe they will, but they're figuring out how. Which sources of funds will be tapped for that.
Okay, so are we, because this is going to require, dealing with the open plumbing and everything, it's not just pushing a ramp to a door. So are we,
The school site has everything that they need to move forward on this. They just need to figure out where those funds come from.
and so did we approve the vendor that's going to
Yes.
do the installation?
Yeah. So they've
And-
gone through the process now, and now they have a vendor that's given them a valid bid, and they need to figure out how they're going to fulfill that.
So if something were to happen, let's say,
First-
for instance, an accident with the vendor or whatever, it's the district's
The district will
insurance
then
that's
go
going
back,
to.
district will go back and
Okay.
repair whatever damage is done, because we now have a licensed vendor that can install it.
Got it.
That's been
Okay.
approved.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So if there's no more questions, then we'll move on to the next item, which is reports from board members on professional development. So item 15A. And looking at the time, I'd like to move that we table one or both of these reports into a future meeting.
I agree.
Got a second?
Do you want to address, okay, go ahead and finish this.
All right.
14B, we never got to.
Oh, did I just skip over that?
No.
14B?
Use of school facilities?
Yeah.
Wait, where are we at?
Oh, okay.
So this
Well, I
one,
think I skipped A.
this board
Volunteers.
policy is one that governs the use of school facilities. And the primary thing that I want to bring to your attention is that that school-related activities have priority for the use of facilities. other groups, when they fill out applications to use our facilities, don't get approved when the school has a use for that. Similarly, members of the public don't get to decide when they want to use a school, or school grounds or facilities, if the school has use for it. And so that is the principle under which schools function when they ask members of the public to not be on the school campus during school activity time. It's not necessarily during school time, but there's after-school programs at all of our schools that go on until 6 p.m. And so that's what they ask for.
Do I have some backup that I can look at that? What's that?
The board policy, you should have it.
No, I know, but I mean, where are we at? Because I'm trying to find it because I thought we were done.
We're at 14B. Board policy 1330.
Where's that?
And
That's in here?
it's on the very first page there.
Okay.
Second paragraph says, the superintendent or designee shall give...
Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry, I closed my book thinking we were done. Okay, go ahead. No, that's community relations. That's not it.
Use of school facilities, BP 1330, the first page, second paragraph reads, the superintendent or designee shall give priority to school-related activities in the use of school facilities and grounds. And then there's an issue around the Civic Center Act, which basically states that any group can utilize schools as a civic center, as a place of congregation, but they apply for that usage. And then later on in number 3, make sure that school facilities and grounds do not interfere with the regular conduct of school work. And so there was a concern or question that was brought up around members of the public being asked to leave campus during an after-school program and not use the grounds during that time. And so this is the basis upon which administration was operating with the board's authority on that decision.
So I'm not sure this is exactly the same, it's the same topic. I'm not sure it's exactly what you were saying, but I'm getting a lot of complaints from members of the community that they're not able to access the use of our facilities when these schools were built. Originally, they were built with such a large amount of property around it, except for our oldest school, Woodrow Wilson, because it was to be used as a park. And it's been going beautifully for years, but suddenly now they're being told they cannot use it. Now, they never had to get a paper to say, I want to use the facility. They would just walk through there and play. The kids would play with each other. The parents would go after, when the school's closed. There's nobody on campus. So the children would go with their parents to play a little ball, whatever, run around, use it only before it gets dark, of course. But suddenly now they're being told they cannot, and they had to leave. And I wonder, what are we doing to our society, to our families that pay our taxes for us to exist when they can't use the facility as they did in the past?
Ms. Bruce-Weller, I just want to respectfully say that I've lived in this community for years, and I've seen the community use our facilities. So I don't think this is about the access to the facilities. It's about using them appropriately. And I don't think we're talking about a mom and her child just trying to play in the playground. I think this is about organizations and groups.
Oh, I understand that, but I'm bringing it
Well,
up.
that's not what we're talking about right now.
Okay, then I guess I wait till this item is finished, and then I need to say that under public comment.
Okay.
I mean, I thought that since you were talking about that, I gathered you were talking about an incident.
I see what you're saying, and I think what is happening is that, as part of our school safety program, we are installing gates that are locked in after hours, right? And so folks or individuals may not have access to all of our facilities. But there are some facilities that will remain open and accessible, and it's those, I believe, that will have the greatest visibility from the street level. I can think of several schools, for example, Fernando Rivera and Thomas Edison. They have excellent visibility from street level. I don't have a problem having unlocked gates in that area because we can secure the school sites. And all of our schools get vandalism all of the time. So, but we can secure our school sites. And then as far as being able to be extension of the park system, I've looked for that language in land grants, and I have not been able to find it. I've had our county council look at it, and I've asked,
True.
and they've not been able to find
I sat
it.
in a meeting and heard everyone
If you
talk
can
about
give me any documentation, dates around that, that would be super helpful. County council did say it would cost quite a bit of money to investigate it even further, but I can get an estimate of that, and I can come to the board with that amount and direction to pursue that.
It's been going on for all these years, and suddenly now, it's not
I don't think that's a fair representation of what has happened. I don't think that all of a sudden we just are excluding people. I think it's a little more detailed than that.
Well, there are even employees in our district that are upset that this is happening.
Yeah. Well,
They've been used to having their child or themselves going with them to play after school, maybe an hour before dinner, who knows? But suddenly now it's going to be all gated up. And,
okay, can I
and
just...
well, first of all, let me finish one thing. If we have custodians on duty, they would lock up before it gets dark.
Here's the issue. We also have people who come to our meetings saying that they wanted us to secure our campuses more. So, I mean, we can't do both at the same time. We can't leave it totally open to everyone and then secure it at the same time. That's impossible.
I wanted to comment because I did, according to the language, it does say when we do or do not open it up because we have to have staff there to be able to secure the site and lock it down. But this is a subject that I think that maybe we can revisit separately because it is not a new subject. We've talked about access. And I know that I've also been very vocal on how we create access because that's an equity issue. We've talked to, Trustee Ali has also been vocal about how we create access of public spaces. And I know that this is something we wanted to broaden a conversation around, how we can create that, because we want to be a model of that. And we do recognize that we are not the only one that has these issues or have received these complaints or concerns. I hear it all the time at every level in other districts. But I would like to make a request that we revisit this conversation at a future date because it's come up before and there was no resolution. So that is my ask.
I agree with that, and I would like to add to that we also talk about it in the context of community schools, because I think that's the whole purpose of us supporting the community school movement, and to me that's a more appropriate way to discuss this as well.
Agreed.
So we do have a public comment from Ms. DiGiovanni.
Thank you, Honorable. Without getting into too much details, because we were supposed to have a 2x2 with the elementary school district to set up with the city council which is myself and Dr. Rod Dasmagawal. So the city manager was trying to set it up, and then I didn't even realize that the superintendent had already gone to meet and to try to negotiate the contract. It's about the contract, right? So I thought we were going to have the 2x2 first, and that part is a part of it. And I can't say too much. I don't want to violate the Brown Act, but I am saying publicly today that we were supposed to have a 2x2 before any of this came to you. So I'm a little disturbed because it is an issue. It is an issue. It's a big issue in our community, and there is a way to block off the school and leave the basketball court available. So there's things that we need to discuss on 2x2s that were supposed to be done, and not the heads of our city manager, city attorney in advance, and the school superintendent. It was supposed to be us, two elected two electeds, maybe the city attorney in the room, and along with superintendent, but we need to do that, and it was supposed to be scheduled. And my understanding is that we will be doing that in January, but we need to do that because this is a big issue
Okay,
in our city.
So
And
Thank
with
you.
all due respect,
Yeah.
it's bigger than what you think.
Okay, thank you
So
for your
I think
comments.
I just
However,
I need to provide a bit of clarification. So I think Ms. DiGiovanni is speaking about an issue, unrelated. The reason that I met first, I mean, just clarification, staff needed to meet first to consolidate 4 outdated agreements and said, put together what is true, and then we can have, I didn't want our 2x2s to go through 20 pages of things that didn't matter anymore. So I met with them and I said, let's consolidate it into what is true, and then we can have our electeds look at that and add what they want to add to it. So that's just clarification. There should be a meeting coming up in January or February.
In all due respect, Bernie, that I signed that original, and we did not meet that way. We met the way it was. We had a part of it. We did not allow the two.
No decisions were made. It's just 4 separate agreements that I wanted to consolidate it into one document. That's all that happened. And that's what's being done in the last couple of weeks.
I'm sorry, but
So.
that's not the way we handled it before.
Okay, well, this is a public meeting, and I want to make sure that everyone is clear and that, that we don't leave people with the wrong idea. This is an issue, as you said, but this is a city issue and a school district issue. It's not just a school district issue. So when we talk about access, we're also talking about access to more places for recreation. And that was brought up at our meeting as well, that, they were wondering why there's not more basketball courts besides on our school grounds in the community. So I just want to put that out there. And I just want to make sure that we stay focused on what we're talking about. I'm not sure if this item was about the contract or not. So, but this particular item is not about a contract.
It is a part
Okay,
of what we're
excuse
having
me,
discussion.
excuse me.
Sorry.
Okay, excuse me. This item is about use of school facilities, but it's not about a specific contract. Okay, so anyway, I just want to make sure in a public meeting that false representations aren't just left on the table. Moving on to item 15A, board study session. I would like us to table those discussions to another meeting.
President Ali, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted it, based on 14B, I just wanted to ask, since I'm here in January, and I know we don't meet, and I don't know our meeting date. My ask is this meeting with the city happening prior to our board meeting? Or it has not been physically, there's no physical
The date
date?
has not been,
Okay.
been set yet.
Okay.
And so
Have a meeting, would it include the 2 members that are on the committee?
it'll include the 2 members of the committee that were appointed today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the same for the city would have their 2 people.
Yeah, I don't know when they do their appointments.
We've had those discussions like that for years.
I'm sure we have.
It doesn't mean that the board members make a decision. They bring back the information
It's
to
an
the rest of the
advisory
board.
body. So the reason why I bring that up, because I'm hearing this January date of a meeting, I guess now needing to be scheduled. My ask is if there's a possibility to have it scheduled prior to our meeting so that we can at least have some more information.
We can
if possible.
try. I mean,
Thank
our
you.
meeting's January 22nd, so hopefully it can happen then. I'm right now waiting for the consolidated draft.
Okay. Thank you.
So I don't recall if there was a motion yet to table, or I put the motion out there. So do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So item 16, under 13, reports from board members on professional development. Item 16, governance, team member comments, reports, and board meeting reflection. And we'll start from trustee Koo.
I selected,
Close my binder already.
we will keep our focus on the best interests of our students and in discussions about different board policies as well as our budget and the youth center project, which is a great example of that. I thought that we did that tonight.
Ms. Brizuela?
We will listen actively and communicate openly. I think we tried to do that. And let's see. We will work towards the future, learning from the past. We're not really doing that. We're not really doing that.
We're not really doing what?
What I just said. We have on here guidelines. We will work toward the future, learning from the past. But I don't think, sometimes we don't get a good response for when we bring up something that's considered the past. But we're working on it. Hopefully, we'll get there.
I also chose listen actively and communicate openly, and I think that we did that here today.
I also choose we will listen actively and communicate openly. And I did want to add with regards to comments, because I think this will be reflective on our discussions around ethnic studies, that myself and Superintendent Vidalis have been invited by San Francisco Unified School District to have a meet and greet tomorrow to talk about initiatives that the Samoan Pacific Islander Board trustees, because there's only 4 of us here locally, there is an initiative that's being introduced by San Francisco Unified. And so a team of them with their superintendent, along with Bay Shore and Dr. Pittman and Teresa Matu'u, who is Pacific Islander. She will be joining us, as well as Trustee Tuatangaloa out of San Rafael. And the reason why I bring that up, I think it's a stepping stone to bring that expertise from these areas and folks that are doing this work. And then we want to create the conversation and then expand the conversation. I know that there was some interest outside of this group, but the initial conversation is happening basically from the setting that has been initiated by San Francisco Unified, since their template is already in place. And it's exciting because these are all Pacific Islander scholars from literally around the world that are now at San Francisco State, College of San Mateo, and City College of San Francisco. And San Francisco Unified has been engaging educators of color to be a part of this, and they've been aggressive and very intentional. So we look forward to having this initial conversation tomorrow. And I appreciate a free dinner during the holidays. So, so we will gladly accept, and we will report back. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
So I'd like to commend the superintendent on addressing items that have come before us in public comments, because a lot of times we, every time we're not able to respond, and then sometimes people wonder, are we following up on those things? So tonight, no matter how the discussion went, we showed, though, that we're attending to those issues that come before us. And then we will keep our focus on the best interests of our students. Persons wishing to address the board on closed session items, we have no speaker cards. So item number 18, convene to closed session. And Ms. Liana, did you want to add your name of your relative?
I thought we were going to go home with that. Canceling everything else.
Let's go.
Is anybody here from CSE?
All right, so we'll convene to closed session in honor of John Paul Barraza, husband of LaDonna Barraza, Special Circumstances Instructional Assistant at Ben Franklin Middle School. Cressel de la Cruz, husband of Maria Eloisa Isip, Food Service Assistant at Susan B. Anthony Elementary School. Cecilia Gatlin Davis, mother of Anita King, General Manager of Food Service Operations. And baby Peter Ali Von Brandt. Meeting adjourned.